Hello, everyone. My name is Cesar Tellez, and I chose to do my research on Ruth Bader Ginsburg, U.S. Supreme Court Justice and legendary women's rights advocate. So, just some background while I was doing my research. She was born in 1933. She was Jewish, and she graduated from Cornell University with a Bachelor of Arts degree in government. So, just some things to know about the era in which she grew up in. 1933 was actually the year that Prohibition ended. And so, as we learned in class, there were many ideas from that era that carried on decades later. As you can see on the bottom right here, some propaganda from that era against or for prohibition. And 1933 was about a decade before the World War II propaganda towards women, trying to get middle class white women involved into the economy and into jobs, as we're learning in class now. And so here's the iconic picture of Rosie the Riveter. And just this exemplifies that propaganda towards women, trying to get them, if they weren't already, into the working class. And we also learned about the WASP Air Force team, which is the Women Air Force Service Pilots, who, just like Ginsburg, also broke the glass ceiling, being the first women in many endeavors. So, just to touch on her early career, her early career consisted of teaching on the university level. She was a professor at Rutgers University, one of the very few tenured women professors at the time. She actually broke history by being the 19th woman in the United States to be appointed tenure um, at a law faculty, or in a law faculty at a school that was approved by the ABA organization. Um, and she taught courses early on sex discrimination. I actually have a title here of one of the courses that she taught, and it is titled Women's Rights, Sex Discrimination, and the Law. While she was teaching, she was involved in many organizations. She was in, and her students would eventually influence her to pursue legislative reform for women through law review articles and positions in several national organizations. So now those organizations. She actually co-founded the Women's Rights Project within the American Civil Liberties Union. It was founded in 1972. And she directed the organization for 8 years. So if you guys aren't familiar, the ACLU is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization or union that works in courts and legislatures to defend and preserve rights and liberties guaranteed to all the people by the Constitution and laws of the United States. So that's the fancy way of saying it, but basically it's an organization, a nonprofit, that helps large groups of people fight against oppressive legislation. And so they have many historical cases. For example, they were part of halting the Trump transgender military ban in 2017. And in 1969, they also won a major Supreme Court victory in the case of Tinker v. Des Moines, which had to do with high school students getting in trouble for protesting the Vietnam War using their freedom of speech. And those are just a few examples of how the ACLU or the Women's Rights Project become involved with court cases that involve sex discrimination and other oppressive legislation. So finally, in conclusion, she was a Supreme Court justice, making history once again, being the second woman in history to become a Supreme Court justice in the United States. She was appointed by President George Bush in 1993, and she served for a total of 27 years before her death. She actually didn't retire when prompted during the Obama administration. And she died in September of 2020. So that will conclude this presentation. Thank you all for watching.